Okay, let's just dive right into this explainer because today we are unraveling one of the world's absolute longest running and most captivating puzzles. I mean, if there's one thing we just can't resist, it's a treasure hunt, right? We're heading off the southern coast of Nova Scotia, Canada, to explore a mystery that perfectly blends history, archaeology, incredible engineering, folklore, and honestly, a relentless human obsession. For over 2 centuries, this tiny landmass, we're talking measuring only a few kilometers across, has completely captivated explorers, wealthy investors, historians, and treasure hunters from literally all over the globe. Think about that for a second. More than 200 years of fortune spent and whole lives dedicated to a single, small patch of Earth. It's the ultimate unsolved puzzle. It leaves us wondering exactly what is hiding down in the dark, and frankly, why we can't seem to stop looking for it. Is it a legendary pirate's hoard, an ancient, world-changing relic? Or have we just spent 2 centuries chasing our own imaginations? To really understand this, we have to go back to where the whole obsession began. Section 1. The Money Pit Discovery, a 1795 exploration. So let's peel back the very first layer of this mystery, going all the way back to 1795. Imagine being a young guy named Daniel McGinnis just exploring the island in 1795. He notices this unusual depression in the ground directly beneath a massive oak tree. But it wasn't just a normal sinkhole. He spotted what looked like an old block and tackle hanging from one of the tree's branches. These were highly suspicious signs of prior human activity. So, driven by curiosity and, the tantalizing possibility of buried treasure, McGinnis grabbed 2 friends, John Smith and Anthony Vaughan, and they began a fateful excavation. As they descended, they didn't just find dirt. Every few feet, they uncovered another layer of timber platforms, giving the undeniable impression of a deliberately constructed shaft. And as the legend grew and subsequent teams dug even deeper, they reported finding these incredibly specific engineered layers: clay, charcoal, putty, and most baffling of all, coconut fiber. Now, coconut trees definitely do not grow naturally in chilly Nova Scotia, suggesting this material was transported from tropical regions specifically for this pit. The excitement absolutely reached a fever pitch when later excavation teams reported finding a large, mysterious stone at a considerable depth, bearing strange symbols. According to later interpretations, the inscription supposedly translated to 40 feet below, 2 million pounds are buried. Unfortunately, the original stone has since completely vanished. Today, historians are kind of left in the dark, uncertain whether the stone existed exactly as those stories described, or if its significance was maybe exaggerated over generations of retellings. Section 2. The Engineering Enigma. The island fights back. The diggers knew something was down there, for sure, but the island was about to put up a massive fight. So the crucial point here is that early engineers threw literally everything they had at the pit. We're talking massive financial investments, constructing cofferdams, digging parallel shafts, pumping water continuously, and even blasting right through solid underground rock. But they were repeatedly defeated. As digging progressed, sudden and massive seawater flooding would just fill the shaft. Investigators realized this flooding was way too systematic to be an accident. They concluded they were up against an ingenious system of booby-trapped flood tunnels connected to the nearby beaches, designed so that any attempt to dig too deeply would automatically trigger a flood and protect the treasure. Section 3. Myths and Legends, Pirates and Templars. When physical digging hit a watery, impenetrable wall, well, human imagination took over, and the speculation expanded dramatically. With no concrete answers, imaginative hypotheses flourished on a huge scale. Because Nova Scotia saw heavy maritime activity in the 17th and 18th centuries, pirates, like the infamous Captain Kidd, became leading suspects for burying hidden gold. But the theories go much further than that. Some influential researchers have argued the Knights Templar secretly transported sacred relics, like the Holy Grail or the Ark of the Covenant, to the pit centuries before Columbus. Others even suggest Sir Francis Bacon hid the lost original manuscripts of William Shakespeare down there. It is very important to note, however, that mainstream historians point out these remain totally speculative and lack verified historical documents actually placing these figures on the island. But while the theories might be super imaginative, the danger of the pit was intensely real. Over the centuries, the unforgiving conditions, we're talking collapsing shafts, toxic gases, heavy equipment failures, they claimed several lives. This genuine tragedy gave rise to a grim piece of modern folklore known as the Curse of Oak Island, which claims that 7 people must die before the island's treasure is finally revealed. It's a myth, of course, but it contributes heavily to the dark mystique surrounding the whole excavation. Section 4, Modern Science, 21st Century Tech. Let's move to the present day and see what happens when we apply modern engineering to a 19th century problem. Modern researchers aren't just digging blind anymore. The search has evolved into a highly sophisticated, multidisciplinary archaeological project. Today's teams use ground-penetrating radar, seismic imaging, sonar mapping, and underwater robotics to map underground voids and search for previous human activity, all without relying entirely on just violently tearing up the earth. And this brings us to a really fascinating scientific crossroads. Are we actually looking at brilliant artificial engineering with elaborate flood tunnels and chambers? Or are we just being fooled by natural geology? Oak Island sits on a landscape shaped by glaciers, featuring limestone dissolution and natural sinkholes. Some geologists argue that the sudden flooding, long attributed to human-made booby traps, might actually just be naturally connected underground channels within porous rock formations. It's a massive debate in the scientific community right now. And that debate is severely complicated by what we call the 200-year dilemma. The tragic irony of Oak Island is that 2 centuries of frantic blasting, tunneling, and drilling have completely scrambled the original archaeological evidence. Distinguishing a genuine historical clue from the leftover debris of a 19th century treasure hunter is now an incredibly difficult task for modern archaeologists. It's like a giant puzzle where half the pieces are missing and the rest have been mixed up. Section 5. Ultimate Treasure. Why we dig. After all the money, incredible technology, and lives spent on this tiny plot of land, we arrive at the very core of our mystery. So why do we keep digging? From a psychological perspective, why does humanity remain so fiercely obsessed with Oak Island, despite the overwhelming odds and the constant, frankly heartbreaking setbacks? The true significance of the island actually extends way beyond material wealth. Treasure legends like this captivate us because they combine adventure, history, and the tantalizing hope of discovery. And ironically, every unsuccessful search paradoxically strengthens the legend. It just suggests the treasure is still brilliantly hidden, not absent. This obsession has driven remarkable advances in engineering and really inspired historical investigation. It has transformed the small island into a global symbol of human perseverance, where every single failure just inspires a new generation to try harder, dig deeper, and invent better tools. I leave you with this to ponder as we wrap up this explainer. Will a future excavation finally pierce the vault and uncover a world-changing cache that rewrites history as we know it? Or, as you look at 200 years of human ingenuity, determination, and boundless imagination, is the enduring power of the unknown exactly what we were looking for all along?